to my podcast, Filmmaking, Actually. Ta-da! Here's a part 2 of the clips from our recent Patreon panel, How Do You Finance Your Dreams, Actually? With special guest Maya Weinreb of Solvency Now Bookkeeping. I love the advice she gives, and while the full video will be posted on our Patreon and clips will be on our social media, here's some more great tips and insight she gave during the panel. Enjoy. It does take a lot of sort of internal reflection to like sit down and face all of that. Mm-hmm. But once you have that, now you're able to go, okay, in order to cover all of this stuff, this is what I need to be doing.
Right, because the answer can't just be, okay, well, I can't make it all. I have to make more money. That can't be the answer. That is true. You do need to make more money. You do need to aspire to the next level of greatness, for yourself. But that doesn't help your current budget problem. So you have to get your actual expenses to fit within your actual means. And we mean including the set-asides that we talked about for, your rainy day fund, your reserves, your taxes, all that. You have to fit inside of your means. So that's very, very important. And I'd like to add one thing to that, because I've run into people who tell me they tried to do that and it didn't work, and they tried and it didn't work. And the number one reason, I feel like we should the answer will be if you pay for Koura's Patreon.
No, this event is free.
I'll do it for free. The number one reason that it doesn't work is because people have one bank account with money coming in and money coming out. And it's impossible to hold the money in order to create like a budget.
That is a hot tip. And everyone here, you're lucky you got to hear that. And I will say, I know that some bank accounts, like there's fees or they have required minimums. And it's kind of like, well, how do you afford to have that many bank accounts? There's like small local banks, there's credit unions. There's, you can even set things up where you like keep money in PayPal or keep money in Venmo. Mm-hmm. There are ways to do it where it's free. I know I have an account where if you have a certain number of electronic transfers per month, then it's free. Yeah, so I use that one for my PayPal. Mm-hmm. What was that?
Or if you get a direct deposit once it's free. And even if you can't find a free one, I'm not saying have 10 bank accounts, but at least have 2 bank accounts. At least have the 2.
And even if those 2 bank accounts are a PayPal account and a Venmo account, and you just keep the money separate.
Sure. I will say that Venmo and Cash App have the worst statements that never make sense to me for reporting. But if that's what you have to do, you got to do what you got to do.
You have to start somewhere.
To ask them to reconcile it afterwards, because it won't make sense.
I know for us, for our business, we keep our books. So we have every transaction whenever we get a Venmo, because we do use Venmo with the company. That's a payment option. We'll send a note with what the transaction is, and then it goes into our book so that we keep track of it. So sometimes, my uncle used to say this, if you do what's hard, life will be easy. If you do what's easy, life will be hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to kind of work a little harder, or you have to kind of invest a little bit more time or a little bit more thought or a little bit more effort into something. And the point of doing all this, the reason why you have all of this, is so that you don't have to do it forever, that eventually you're able to kind of, okay, now you have some money in reserves. Now you have some savings. Now you have a plan, and you know how much money you need to be making because...
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that once you're making a ton of money that you don't have to do financial management, or financial planning, but maybe you can hire someone to do it for you. So you don't have to, it's always an investment of either time or money, because it's either going to be your time or someone else's time. But the reason to live, well below your means now, I think is your main point, is so that later, well below your means is a ton of money. Trying not to swear, is a ton of money.
Amazing. Yeah. No, you're good. We'll just if you do, we'll just beep it out in the recording. So
I've been good so far. I'm gonna keep working on it.
You've done. I'm very proud. Very proud. I do kind of want to go over one more thing, and then we'll open it up for some questions.
I know you and I talked about this a little bit as well. Just like, there is a strike right now. And obviously, none of us are going to cross a picket line. None of us are going to violate a strike agreement, work with a struck company. Like, that's just not who we are. And it's very important for us to band together, because one of the problems is that, I will say it on behalf of all filmmakers, most filmmakers are not paid fairly. Most filmmakers will work and they'll get either pennies for residuals or they'll get a really crap paycheck. And that's a legitimate problem. I wish this panel had an answer for that. That's not why we're here. We're here to talk about what to do with the money you do make. One thing that you and I had talked about was the fact that, like, once you know what the amount of money is you need to be making in a month, kind of like figuring out ways to do that. Like,
Yeah.
if it means, like, I remember there was during COVID, a friend of mine who's a sound recordist. He has all this sound gear. He has a really cool voice. Like, he's got this like really deep kind of like voice. And because there wasn't really much he could do, he's an on-set sound tech. He travels and goes to location. That wasn't happening during COVID. So he just started reaching out and he was like, hey, I got all this sound gear. I'm just doing some voice acting. Does anyone need any, do you need any voice? Do you need any voiceover work? And he just
ASMR on YouTube.
Exactly. He just started recording things and using his gear for that. And I think as a creative, sometimes it's our job to kind of be like the Matrix, not there is no spoon, but that there is no box. Like, we're not even thinking outside the box. There is no box.
Yeah. I loved seeing all the creative things that creatives did during the pandemic. Online concerts and street concerts and all these shorts and new like Facebook news channels. And I was just like in awe every day that people didn't, just like curl up in a ball and hide under their blankets. I mean, I know we did some days, but that we were able to, like get out of that box. Like you said, like there are no walls here. There are no barriers here. I'm a creative and I'm going to create through any barriers. And I was so inspired by that.
Me too. And I think that thinking about the resources that you have, because like part of finance is what service can you provide to make money?
Exactly. Yeah. One of the important parts is income planning. Once you kind of make that budget and you go, well, I actually need $10,000 a month and I'm only making $6,000 a month. And rent in Santa Monica is, I don't know, probably $3,500 now or something. I don't know. I haven't been there in a couple of years, but it's insane, I'm sure. So you need so much money just to live, and you have to be able to look at how do I get to that next level? And instead of being depressed about it, you have to just have this create mindset. I have employees. I think loyalty is super important. I try to make sure, I'm paying them well. But I've had times where employees said, you know what, like I got this offer for way more money. And I go, listen, my small company can't match that, but I wish you well. And you got to do that sometimes. Like I don't really agree with the whole, just job hopping and, quiet quitting and all that, because I think it's important to work to your ability and that you will get paid to what you put in. But if you're in a situation where you're not making enough money or you're not getting paid to what you put in, then look for the next better thing. And we're in an age where there's so many creative things that you can do on the internet. I know, okay, so the restaurants are open and people are waiters again and people are all these things. And I'm not even saying don't do that. You got to do what you got to do. Maybe you have to get a roommate, or maybe you have to move back in with your parents temporarily. Like it's not that big of a deal these days, especially if you're not getting parts in LA. Okay, no, I'm not saying move back home, but I'm just saying like you got to do what you got to do in order to survive and in order to survive well. And if you have to temporarily downsize, or if you have to temporarily rent out a room or, get that another job or a third job, even, like I understand, we've been there.
And that is something that I think is so wrongfully shamed in the world in every industry. Like what you said about like if you're working somewhere and you're not being paid what you're worth, that's a totally different conversation. For me, I have worked very hard to get to the point where filmmaking is my day job. This is what I do for a living. It's what pays my bills. I wake up in the morning, I work at my company, and that's what I do all day. I don't have another source of income or a big bank account hiding in my mattress.
You
But
don't have rich parents funding you, Koura? No,
my parents. Yeah, no.
I've known Koura for like probably 25 years, so I know that isn't. I'm just saying.
Yeah, my poor parents. Literally. No, my parents are amazing and they work very hard too. But I know what it's like to like go paycheck to paycheck. And there have been times where I, was working another job so that I could work in film, or where I picked up something else just for some extra cash. And there's literally, I think the stigma around earning money needs to just go away, because there is literally nothing wrong with driving a car that you can afford. And it doesn't mean that you're any less valuable, or you're any less amazing, or any less whatever. Like, oh, they're not going to like me because I don't live in a nice apartment, or, oh, they're going to judge me by the car I drive. I would rather not be making car payments each month than have someone judge me because I don't drive a brand new car. I don't care. I'm probably never going to buy a brand new car. They lose so much money when you buy them off the lot.
And if you really have to impress someone for a day, go rent one on Turo. Like, okay, spend a few $100s and drive a fancy car, but you don't have to take it home.
That's actually a great idea. I didn't even think about that.
There's just so many things you can do, like, it's like, I get it. Sometimes you do want to impress, I don't know, the producer, the actor, the girl, whatever. Fine, rent a car. You don't even have to say one way or the other, but like, at least they're impressed if that's what you need to do to get that part. Like, go after it.
I will say part of like my mission in the film industry is to kind of normalize people being normal, people not driving fancy cars, people living within their means and being paid fairly for their work and being hired because they're amazing. So that's my idealistic dream. And in the meantime, renting a car on Turo is probably great advice.
Or buy a fancy car and then you rent it out on Turo and make people pay you $600 a day to drive your Tesla or whatever, That's
an even better idea.
I'm always like, how do I monetize this? There's so many things I think of. Koura, I have pictures, like photographs. I took a picture in, Blue Bottle Coffee in Hollywood. And this just coffee and the light was perfect. It has like 100,000 views. And I'm like, why didn't I figure out how to monetize that? Like, ugh. But yeah, it's just a picture of a coffee cup. But if they would have paid me like, I don't know, $1 each, not that you get paid that, but you know what I mean? Like I could have.
Right.
Or like, okay, so you're an actor and you're not working. Can you create a mini documentary series of what it's like to be an actor that's not currently working and post it? Like, actors and creators, you guys are all so creative. It's crazy. But sometimes you just have to think about what can you do to be creative that you can make money for, because you're also your own business. And that's something that I know actors and creatives aren't always good at, is realizing that you are your own business. And even though you're doing art and you're doing it because you love it and you're passionate about it, you have to monetize it so you can live on it.
Or if art just makes you happy and you just want to do it because it makes you happy, like, I love cooking, but I'm not about to go open a restaurant.
Yeah,
I don't, it's like, I can cook. It's great. It brings me joy, but I'm not going to invest in all the business side of that. If you want the business side of being an artist, you have to deal with the business side of being an artist.
You've been listening to Filmmaking Actually with Koura Linda, the Space Dream Productions podcast. Subscribe to us on any or all the podcast platforms. If you like what you hear, leave us 5-star ratings and positive reviews on iTunes. It helps more listeners like you discover the show. But the best thing you can do if you really like the show is tell a friend. Want to leave a comment or ask a question? Email at filmmakingactually@gmail.com. Spacey speaking, and remember...
Knock, knock. Who's there? Brad. Brad who? That's showbiz.
And we'll see you next time.